Hello everybody, I'm Aaron Green, Digital Manager for Unitas Wholesale, and welcome to this introductory webinar. Before we dive into the world of social media, I just wanted to remind everybody a little bit about what the Digital Excellence Academy is all about. The Digital Excellence Academy was developed to offer advice and support to our members on a range of digital topics that are important for wholesalers and their customers. We kicked off this initiative in February when we partnered with Lumina Intelligence to bring you a special webinar event focusing on B2B transactional platforms for our retail-facing wholesalers. As part of this event, we also offered members a free digital health check so they could easily identify the strengths and potential weaknesses of their e-commerce platforms. I'm pleased to say that several of our members have taken us up on this offer and have already received their bespoke health check reports. I'm also delighted to confirm that we're running a similar webinar event, this time for our out-of-home members, on the 20th of July at 10 AM. So please look out for more information on this to come. Back to today then, and I'll shortly hand over to Karen Freewell from leading marketing agency Digital Blonde, who's here to talk to you a little bit more about our next module, Get Social, a week-long social media masterclass that launches on Monday the 10th of May. Over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Aaron. So social media, lots to talk about, lots changed this year. I've actually put a few slides together, so I'm just going to share my screen now. So before we start, a little bit about Digital Blonde. We are a marketing agency that specialises in food, drink and hospitality. And we made a bit of a name for ourselves when it comes to social media. We've helped a variety of companies throughout the industry, whether that's operators, manufacturers, suppliers, even chefs and industry associations with their social media. And that could be from a strategic point of view, it could have been training, or perhaps it's the more practical elements of managing pages and putting posts out there and developing campaigns. Everything that we do is based around the idea that the best moments in life happen around a table when we're eating and drinking with the people we love. And that underpins our approach to developing social media campaigns. So before we get into some of the questions that I know many people are asking about social media, I just want to take a little step back and look at what's happened over the last year in terms of our social media behaviour. And that very much relates to food. We've seen the rise of meal kits, we've seen lots of baking, we've seen lots of people learning to cook. And all of these trends have been amplified by social media. Digital and social media have also played a huge part in other businesses being able to run, and we can take learnings from the way that people are changing or have changed the way they buy. So we're seeing ideas of new ways to shop by doing virtual appointments for buying wedding dresses. We're seeing online beauty classes, and all of this has been amplified by social. We're seeing social media actually help us be more social, particularly in the times that we've been locked down. And we've seen brilliant new businesses start as a result of the activity over the last year, and social media playing a huge part in them being able to launch. And I thought this was a brilliant example because this company, it's actually local to me. They've run their business and promoted themselves via social media. This is their Instagram account, just over 5,000 followers. And they recently posted about a year ago and how they went with £100 down to their wholesaler and with the idea that they could start a sweet delivery business. They sold out that £100 worth of stock very quickly and continued. And it shows the role that wholesalers are playing in businesses succeeding over the last year, and social media being one of those drivers to help them achieve that. So over the last year, we have used social media more, but actually we've been increasing our social media use year on year, as we can see here. Now, in the UK, around 78% of the overall population are actually social media users. So social media users are a big part of the audience. In the UK, if you look where this arrow is, we're around 1 hour, 50 minutes on social media a day. So that's quite a lot of time to be able to reach people. And the interesting thing is that when we're looking for brand research, many people will think, oh, I just go to Google, but actually 45% of the audience will use social media to help them find brands that they're interested in. And I think this is a really important point to think about, because some people say, well, yeah, but is that for work? Well, think about yourself. Are you a different person at 5 o'clock, or actually are you that same person before and after work? You will find that people are looking on social media about work stuff in an evening, and sometimes they'll be looking at personal stuff during the day. And we don't tend to swap to a completely different person when we are in and out of work, particularly in terms of our behaviours. So I think you should just refer to this as thinking about people and how they use digital tools. Now, although I've said here that social networks is that second tool for discovering new brands, if we actually look at younger users, so here 16 to 24-year-olds, people are in this age group are actually using social networks as their primary source of information when researching brands. So we're starting to see a tip there that actually social media is being used as a search tool, particularly with those younger audiences. Now, this is all great that our social media has increased over the year. The way that we use social media has increased. We've relied on digital more. We've realized the benefits of digital. We've realized the benefits of social media in terms of growing businesses. But there's a downside to it all, and that is we've realized that all this digital activity may well be detrimental to our health. And actually, the last year has made us take a step back and think about what's important in our lives and how we spend our time. And so you'll see news stories around social media damaging mental health and this endless scrolling having an impact on our mindset, even the physical impact of constantly scrolling and the impact on your fingers and your thumb. And this actually presents some of the challenges for 2021 social media, because we are at a point that our lives are just about to get really busy. I've certainly noticed in the last few weeks, work, life has become busier, but also people are asking you to meet up and outside and spend more time. So, very quickly, we're going to start to see this change in our life and the amount of time we have available, which will mean people will probably drop down in their social media use. We've also got this element of self-care, like I was just talking about, this whole idea that perhaps being on social media isn't that good for us. And then we've got the problem that every business is now at a point where they want to start promoting themselves. So we've got a lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of marketing noise out there, and it's going to be harder to cut through. All of this says when you're going to post on social, you need to aim for better quality content. We've also had a point where we've become very concerned about misinformation and fake news. So as far as social content goes, you need to be producing credible, reliable and trustworthy content to be able to cut through that noise that's going on out there. And this is where I think you can start to involve your customers in some of your social media with that story the lovely story I told you about Hello Sweetie and the role the wholesalers played in the development of a new business. So I get asked questions all the time about social media, and I'm just going to answer 3 of them for now, and the rest I'll save for next week. So the first one is, which channel should I be in? Well, actually, it's not an easy answer because it's your community. So what works for you will work different for me personally, or company B over there, or company C over here. So it is about talking to your customers, finding out more about which they're using. But I would also always recommend having a presence on all of the channels, but you may lower the amount that you post from time to time. So at the moment, Instagram is doing particularly well, but I've found personally I'm doing better from some of my tweets than maybe I was pre-pandemic. I've noticed for many clients that Facebook's not working as well as it was perhaps a year ago. So it's important to scale up and scale down on the different channels depending on what is generating the best return for you. How often should you post? Well, that's the $1 million question. And there will be people that tell you, oh, you should be doing it every day. I think I'm a bit more realistic. We've got algorithms to battle against, and I'll talk more about that next week. We have, certain content will stick around for longer because it's done well, and maybe lesser quality content won't stay in the newsfeed. So I would actually concentrate more on how many good quality pieces of content you can produce, whether that's in video format or image format, or maybe link off to content on your website. And again, we'll discuss in more detail next week what will work and how best to produce it. And another question, I guess, also, and the third one I wanted to cover for now is, where do I even start? You know, you've got all these channels, what is best to do when? And so I will talk about how it's best to manage internally, gathering content. I find for many of my clients that, you know, a company WhatsApp group with some key people in it, and they're all responsible for gathering content. I am very real and say you're not going to achieve everything from the start, and you are always learning. So you might say, well, one week I'm just going to concentrate on getting 3 posts out across all channels. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see what they do. And then in the second week, you might start to build on that. And, you know, over the course of 3 months, you'll probably get some really good learnings about what works. So I would say it's better to start rather than to keep putting off for that perfect scenario. And if trying to do too many channels is too much for you, then, you know, be realistic and go for the one you think that's going to work best. But next week, I'll give you lots more hints and tips about how best to manage this internally. And there's also some software that can help take out some of the pain. So we'll talk about scheduling content, so you don't have to sit there and remember at 6 o'clock on an evening that you want to put a piece of content out there. So if this is all sounding of interest to you and you want to learn more, well, here's some of the things we're going to cover next week. On Monday, we'll look at each of the social networks, the kind of the big social networks, and we'll talk about how they are useful for driving sales. On Tuesday, I'm a big fan of understanding people, and I've got some psychology understanding under my belt. So I'll talk about the psychology of good social content, and that'll be based on well-known principles of persuasion, all swapped or adapted for use in social media. These days, social content doesn't just reach the audience just by pure luck and organically, and you will need to think about some social media advertising, and we'll talk through the different options there, how you can target them, and how you can use it to drive sales. So building on the things we learned on Monday and Tuesday. On Thursday, we're going to cover some of the important things that may be not quite so exciting things, such as protecting your accounts, making sure you've done things to try and avoid hacking, making sure that the accounts are looked after when certain people leave the business, making sure you've got enough people on each account, and making sure you're complying with the terms and conditions of each of the social networks. At this point, I'll also look to some of the new networks that are coming out, the rise of video and the rise of audio networks. And that moves us on to Friday, where we have a brilliant interview with Walkers all about managing social media, some of the lessons that they can share with us, and the importance of doing things in certain ways. So it's a full week with lots of content, but designed in a way that you can dip in and dip out, and build on your knowledge. And you can keep coming back to this content because it will be available for you for a longer term. So I look forward to chatting to you next week. If you do have questions, then please feel free to send them through to Aaron, and I'll try and cover them in some of the sessions. So see you next week.
Thanks, Karen. We hope that this has given you all a flavour of what's to come. To recap then, Get Social is 5 social media topics spread across 5 days in the form of a daily email sent to you from Monday the 10th of May. There will also be the chance for one lucky wholesaler to win 3 months social media agency support with Digital Blonde in order to really kickstart your digital transformation. If you receive the invite for this introductory webinar, then there's nothing that you need to do. You will automatically receive our email campaign starting on Monday. However, if you feel like there's colleagues in your business who would benefit from this information who aren't part of this meeting, then there's a link on the next page where you can register their details. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to share day one of our social media masterclass with you all on Monday the 10th of May as we get social. Bye now.